Hi, Capricorn. This is Kendrick with Providence. Look, there's a lot going on right now. We had a lot going on in your sign, right? And now we have your ruling planet moving into Aquarius. Mars is in Aquarius now. Jupiter is in Pisces. Oh, sorry, what am I saying? Jupiter is in Capricorn, conjunct Pluto. Okay, and those are the planets that we have, very close to your sign, especially if you're a Capricorn rising. And if you're a Capricorn rising in those very latter degrees of Capricorn, then you're definitely feeling it right now and you're getting hit pretty hard, right? Also, this full moon that's coming up in Libra is going to be in your 10th house. And when the moon is in the 10th house, this talks about an emotional need and a strong desire to, achieve some sort of like prominence in your career. Also, with Jupiter being in Capricorn right now in your first house, you're definitely experiencing some restrictions, but you're also experiencing some ways of, be adapting to the different changes that you might be experiencing, or maybe feeling like, there are some shortcomings in some areas, right? You could just be more aware of the ways that you are being tested or the ways that you are having to reduce things down. I believe right now in your third house of Pisces, you have Mercury, which Mercury likes being in the third house. And for you, it's accidentally in its rulership. Even though it is in Pisces, it's still in your third house. And the cardinal signs do have those accidental, rulerships and things like that. And for you, it's good because you might be able to communicate well. There might be a little bit of confusion there, or and the confusion might actually be in creativity, right? In terms of how you're going to do something creatively, even maybe outside the box, perhaps, right? Because you're thinking about what you can do with what you have now. And even though there might be something, an element that may have changed about it, you're still able to maintain some imagination and some quality of the work, right? Or what you're doing, or the thought process, or whatever that process is. In your fourth house, you have the sun, which is very much focused on home and family. And we're talking about healing the home and family in different ways because you have Chiron, the wounded healer, there in Aries. The sun being there, Eris, which is also kind of like almost like a second Pluto, right? So we're dealing with wounds from the past. We're dealing with transformation. We're dealing with turning over of things. And I just say transformative energy because the sun is there, and so is Chiron along with Eris. So it has that energy of something that has regenerated or has come out renewed, or something that is in a process of being renewed. Okay. Yes. So then we get into your fifth house, which we have Uranus, which is there right now. Uranus is accidentally, because you're a cardinal sign rising, if you're a rising cardinal sign, Uranus is, when it's in Taurus, it's actually debilitated in Taurus, and then it's also in a place where it doesn't want to be in the fifth house. It wants to be in the 11th house mainly, right? Venus is there. We have it. Venus being in Taurus is in its rulership. That's pretty good. But then the Uranus, oh my God, there's some energy going on. I should have burned some sage. But the Uranus here is talking about things being shaken up to your reality, things that you may have gotten used to. There are some things that are wow, there's a fight going on. There are some things that you know, things change at a moment's notice. Uranus being in Taurus doesn't like to be there, like I said. Venus does like being in Taurus. Uranus talks about shaking things up and maybe changing things for Venus in a place where she normally would be comfortable, right? So Venus is now moving into Gemini tonight. Gemini is actually the esoteric home of Venus on a deeper level. So she's talking about what we're communicating, what might be going on in our environment that might be affecting us, perhaps. It also talks about resourcefulness and different ways of communicating, like with body language and just kind of like how you relate to things and how you do things. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. And then we get over into 4, 5, sixth house. Right, Venus is in the sixth house now. She's just gotten over there, just started transiting. Okay, so that's very interesting for you, Capricorn, because Venus being in her esoteric rulership in your sixth house, right? Um, which normally is ruled by Mercury, by in exoteric, normal Western astrology. Very interesting for you because you are very much a worker. And then you have a planet that likes to be in a sign in the sixth house. So this is saying that you're working well and you are adapting and you are being resourceful and you're kind of like coming up with creative ways to like be flexible with how you work or how you're able to achieve, the same quality of work, but just in a different way, perhaps, right? The moon just transited your ninth house, so there might have been something that was really beneficial for you there that might have been a little bit surprising because the ninth house is ruled by Jupiter normally, and the moon does like being in the ninth house. You know, um, um, it's a little in a little bit more of a jovial place. But for you, your ninth house is that where we're going? Wait, let me just double check with that. 19, yeah. Your ninth house. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What am I saying? Seventh house, sorry. Your seventh house is Cancer, and the moon being in Cancer is kind of like the moon being in Libra. So there might have been some decisions and some choices that you had to make, but the moon being in the seventh house for you, your seventh house is Cancer. So the moon actually lives there. It lives in Cancer. And on an esoteric level, the moon has actually gained some experience by the time it gets there. So it really knows what to do with that energy, right? Because esoterically, if we think about the moon liking being in the sixth house, then it's just actually gone through the sixth house and it's gone into your seventh house, where it actually does love being there, right? On a Western exoteric level, we're in Cancer right now with that moon. Okay, so tonight. The moon is no longer in your seventh house, it's in your eighth house. And the moon, when it's in the eighth house, is talking about, power struggles. It's talking about, emotionally intensity as well, things that might be hidden or some things that just might be contained, right? And we know with that energy of the eighth house, it's sort of, it definitely is reflective, reminiscent, it correlates to the energy of Scorpio, which talks about desire, power, obsession, possession, the need to control things, right? And it also does talk about that explosive energy that comes about controlling the emotions or the pent up energy that needs to be released, okay? That's why we have to allow our emotions to flow. But I think for you, in a sense, it's very positive, okay? Because you're dealing with just coming from the moon being in your seventh house in Cancer. So by the time the moon gets to the eighth house for you in Leo, which it's still a fire sign, so it does a little bit better there as well. Okay, it does okay there. This is sort of like where the emotions are being expressed now, right? Outwardly, okay? Because there could be some sense of adversity that might be being experienced, okay? But it's kind of like you're pushing forward and you're pushing through it all. It's not easy, but you realize that in order for you to push past or get through something or get over something, get what do they say? You have to go through it. You can't go around it. So it's like, yes, I'm just going to go ahead and go through this. I understand that there are going to be some obstacles. I understand there are going to be some struggles. I realize that there are going to be some things that I may not relate to so well or quite comfortably, because it is the moon being in a watery planet, being in a fiery sign, right? And then we go into your, finally, the moon in a few days, a couple of days, will be going into your ninth house, which that's kind of like, you know, that energy of like moon and Sagittarius, which is almost kind of like a flip-flop of like Jupiter or Neptune being in Cancer, right? It's very interesting in that sense. So, on a deeper level, there is something that's being learned with the moon being in the ninth house. You're realizing that you're going to have to like reposition yourself, okay, in a way where you can start to make do with what is happening. And definitely with Jupiter, right? Jupiter ruling the ninth house naturally, and it being Virgo. Okay, that's kind of like some tensions and some square energy going on there, which means that you kind of need to come up with some resolutions, right? Come up with some ideas that are actually going to not make you feel as limited as you have been feeling, okay? Because Jupiter in Capricorn also has that feeling as well of like being like, whoa, I realize that I'm limited, but like I can work within these limitations to bring about some kind of change so that I see a progression, right? See progress too. So we're dealing with that. But by the time we get to the moon being in Libra for you, that's the moon being in your 10th house, which talks about, you know, you being very enthusiastic about the career, right? Being very, and you are Capricorn rising. So, you know, if some of you have the houses that align up in the, you know, in the way that Libra is not in your ninth house or something like that, but it is your 10th house, the career is going to be a focus, right? And how you're helping, you know, women are going to definitely be like influential in this in some kind of way, or the home, right? Career, the home being very very much in focus here when it comes to your career and what you're doing and how you're doing it and how people are seeing you and in your career now. You know, it's in a very, it's at a very home base, right? Home level. It makes sense because we're all sort of like in that place of being at home. Cancer is the north node right now. Capricorn is the south node. Capricorn is talking about government, and Capricorn is talking about economy as well. All right. And it talks about, you know, old things, codependencies as well. And when I say old things, like old systems, right, that might be obsolete as well. So you might be thinking of that for yourself. But yes, we do have the moon coming up in Libra in your 10th house. And last year around this time, we had the moon, we had two full moons in your 10th house of career. So there might have been some things going on, some developments, a lot of stuff happening, you know. Um, Moon in the 10th house. It's a good position because it speaks of notoriety, right? Being seen by a lot of people. So I feel like you could be getting noticed for your career and what you're doing in your career right now. It's a very humanitarian sensibility as well, with Saturn being in its rulership in your second house, you know. And it being there right now in Aquarius. So it talks about humanitarianism, and Taurus is involved, right? The second house is involved with what it is that I can give, or what it is that I can share, you know, out of the good of my conscience, right? Out of my good conscience, what can I share with you that we, and how can we all benefit from the same thing, you know? And that talks about a bond as well. So you could be kind of trying to formulate a different kind of bond, right? Because Aquarius is talking about eccentricities and, you know, thinking outside the box and new ways of being able to shape and form something into a new. Okay? I just had to go around your your chart that way. So let me go ahead and shuffle these cards. Capricorn. All right, here we go. You know? All right, so I'm using the Morgan Greer Tarot deck. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a spread that I'm used to doing. The Ascendant spread. I'm using the Runes Oracle cards here. And I'm also using the Romance Angels Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. Okay, and I'm going to be using the Keepers of the Light Oracle cards by Kyle Gray. Right? In that order. I had to jump around because I saw that I put them in a different order. Give me 1 second. Oh my gosh, my knees, Capricorn. See how I did that? All right. So now we can cut these. And then I'm going to lay the cards out, okay, in the way that I do. And then I'm going to show you what's at the bottom of the deck, and we're going to talk about that. Because I like to talk about that first and not necessarily at the end, although sometimes, you know, that is appropriate or it feels right. And in some places, that's how they do it. Okay, so the Emperor is at the bottom of the deck for you. So this is talking about control, okay? It is talking about, you know, a great desire, a great will to carry something through or do something, right? You kind of like want what you want. This 4 is related to your 4th house as well, which is actually Aries, okay? Which is where the sun is. We're talking about healing from, you know, controlling ways, you know? How are we dealing with our controlling ways? You know, because the 4s are talking about how you cope with things, right? How you cope with your instinct, how you cope with, you know, your innate ways of being, right? And how they affect other people. Because we're talking about, you know, with the Emperor being here and Aries being your 4th house, and then Libra being your 10th house, it's kind of like you yourself sort of like act on your instinct a lot, right? You kind of like just go with your gut. You go with what you want. You go with whatever you feel like you need to be doing. But then like that 10th house is saying that, you know, when you're able to share the experience with other people, right, in a real way, on a real level, you definitely get more out of it. But the Emperor could be talking about a boss. It could be talking about, you know, a father figure or an older person in your life that could be insistent on a way that they might want you to do something. Or you could just be worried or focus. Your head could be, your mind and your head could be on a person. It could be the mother, it could be the father, or it could be, you know, both of those parental units. It could just be someone of great importance to you because the Emperor is usually someone of great importance in your life, right? Because they have experienced a great deal of time in your life, and if that isn't it, they have influenced your life in a great way that, you know, some people would have to do over a long period of time, right? So they have a lot of power and they have a lot of influence, okay? So we're dealing with that. This could be you or the other person, you know, your power, your influence, their power, their influence. Okay. Um yes, let's flip over the center card. Wow, more Aries. Okay, so this is Sun and Aries, which is where we are right now. So the Emperor is there and the Sun and Aries is there. So we're talking about the potency of the will, the potency of the drive to get what you want. You know, I feel like you could be working really hard too. You could be working really hard to build something, to try to, like, you know, try to reach some level of security for yourself, right? It almost is kind of like very much in like a survival mode too with the Emperor. It's a 4, so it's related to the Emperor, the energy of the 4th house. You know, Aries is your 4th house. Very much thinking about survival, very much focused on that, trying to just kind of like, you know, clean off the wounds, right? And go back into battle, like that type of thing. Because Chiron, the wounded healer, is in your 4th house, right? With Eris. And it's saying, like, you know, I am sort of like transforming through this. I'm also transmuting energy through this, what I'm going through right now. It is kind of hard. I do feel like I'm going through some things on my own, and I'm doing some things on my own as well, but I'm realizing what it is that how I'm limited, and, you know, how I'm also unlimited within, you know, the confines of what's available to me, right? It doesn't mean that you have to lessen the quality of the experience. You know what I mean? Also, because it's kind of like you are concerned with what you're getting out of it, and you're concerned with what other people are getting out of it too, right? But you feel like you have a responsibility to see that other people get the most out of what they can get from it, right? Whatever that is. You're trying to come up with ideas to stay creative. You know what I mean? You're seeing that sort of like get people excited, right? You know, you're doing what you can. You're using your business skills, right? In a really good way. Okay? What's available to you, right? You're accessing like different vehicles, right? We're thinking about that. You know, you're staying put, but you're still reaching out and you're networking, right? Staying put, but still networking, you know, because this person seems to be very like there in the place that they're in, but they're reaching out. You know, this has to do with active communication, right? Doing more of that, more of that, more of that, more of that. Staying in control of your reality. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to let things start to get out of control. And the Emperor is here to see to it that things stay in control. You know what I mean? This person is also here to see to it that things stay in control. You know, this is a 3. It's related to the Queen of Wands as well, because the Empress rules the 3s. She also rules the Queens. So the 3 of Wands is related to the Queen of Wands, right? So you could be dealing with an Aries person as well. You know, you could just be trying to keep yourself motivated as well. That's something that's very important right now. All of the different ways that we can keep ourselves motivated. You know what I mean? Just because it will be easy for us to just kind of like become complacent, right? Because we're not able to do the things that the way that we always have been doing them, with this Emperor being here, right? Because it talks about, you know, not being able to be imaginative, right? Because there's only a little bit of water in this card, right? It's like that imagination block, right? But it's someone that has the power and the potential and the experience to really be very creative. Okay. And it's saying that you can do what it is that you want to do. You just have to think of different ways to do it with this 3 of Wands being here. You know, and you're doing it. I feel like it's happening for you. You have all of this energy of things being exalted, but and accidentally working for you. But then we do have Uranus in Taurus for you, which is what house is that for you? That your 5th house? Right. So that might prove to be kind of challenging, just because you're having to, you know, react quickly to the ways that things have shifted, and you're the oldest uh, Earth sign, so you get very much adhered to normalcy, right? Consistency and patterns, right? And it's like you're being thrown off. Queen of Cups is here, right? This is representative of your 7th house of relationships. So the Queen of Cups, it has a need to, you know, express how she is feeling, right? through action, right? Through initiating, okay? But it also is kind of like wanting to care for the needs of others as well. You know, so I feel like that's something as well that you might be being challenged by, being that the Queen of Cups is the immediate influence over the Three of Wands, right? You're doing something. It's like from afar. I feel like over water, or it's over land, or it's kind of like you're communicating and you're reaching out, you know, over water and land perhaps, you know, and even in your like local environment, you're trying to stay connected to people here and people far away, right? And it's a lot of work. There's a lot of things doing. You're having to multitask here with this Three of Wands energy. And the Queen of Cups also is multitasking in a way, right? Because she's trying to take care of her needs, but then also trying to take care of the needs of others, right? But then it's like, you know, there's a lot going on in the mind as well. So you're trying to control your thoughts while you're also trying to nurture and trying to feed, you know? You're trying to think about, you know, what it is that needs to be nurtured also on a psychological level, because you're just there on a deeper level. You understand that things have to play out for the mind to in a way for the mind to feel secure, you know. And it just talks about how you identify with your reality and how it affects you emotionally, right? Because there really is something to do once you realize that. And once you understand that there is something that you can do to kind of like not just feel like you're waiting for something to come to you. You know, you can still, it's still possible for you to go for things right now in this moment. You know, it might, you know, just all of those practical things that need to happen. You know, paperwork is one of them. We haven't really gotten there in the reading yet because we don't have pentacles or anything like that coming up. But we do have processes with this Three of Wands here. And that talks about, you know, being busy, keeping yourself busy, right? In the meantime. But the Queen of Cups energy also could be the mother. It could be somebody that's concerned about you, that wants to be closer to you, or you want to be close to someone else in some kind of way that you're not, you know. And this person could even be in your immediate environment. You want to be closer to someone that might be in your immediate environment, okay? In the past position, you have the High Priestess. We're dealing with some Pisces energy here, right? And it could have something to do with you know, earned income and money, right? The High Priestess is almost like you kind of like you knew something was going to happen. High Priestess, as I drink water. The twos are also talking about, you know, taking something and folding it and being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes as well. I feel you. You know what I mean? It's almost kind of like being triggered emotionally only because you feel the same thing that other people feel, right? Because this is kind of like universal love, right? But it's also talking about universal compassion too. So it's kind of like, you know what, we all feeling the same thing right now. All we can do is take a step back, right? Assess the situation, right? Try to gain some sort of footing, some kind of balance here, right? um See where the pros are and where the cons are, right? You know, don't count your losses. We're getting don't count the losses, right? We're kind of like let the losses be what they are, and then see how you can actually gain something out of this, because we are talking about gains with the High Priestess, being that Jupiter rules Pisces, okay? But we have Neptune in Pisces right now. We have Mercury there as well, right? And Pisces is your third house. So we're talking about communication, and we're talking about communication with a Pisces, or we're talking about communication with a Gemini. We could be talking about communication with a Taurus, or even a Libra or an Aquarius, right? But then that's what we're getting about. We're talking about that humanitarian sense. It's like understanding what someone might be going through because you feel a little bit of it too, right? In your sun position, we're dealing with, work. So you're focusing on work, staying, very methodical, you know. Um, you're putting a critical eye to detail, right? Definitely giving yourself a responsibility to stay busy and to do the important things, right? The things that matter. You're trying to figure out how you can stay on top of your bills, but you're also, applying, because the Eight of Pentacles is talking about the application of the information to manifest something. Right, so how are you going to apply the information that you've been given, right, and access some power within yourself, because it is an eight. So it's talking about the power that you have to access something, use it, transmute it, make something out of it, really fix something, okay? And adjust your reality, right? And make it something that you desire, getting what you desire out of your reality, right? We're definitely talking about that here. Staying in your power, doing what you can do, doing what you can do. That's what Virgo talks about too, doing what you can do. This is Sun in Virgo, right? Sun, I can, right? Doing, okay? Doing what you can do. And Sun in Virgo would be like Sun in your ninth house, right? And that's interesting because I talked about that energy of squaring, right? Because, Virgo squares Sagittarius and vice versa. But when we have the Sun in Virgo, for you, it's in your ninth house. Okay? So this is talking about going for, your goals, right? Maintaining that idea, that mental fortitude, right? About what your purpose is. Because this is talking about still knowing your purpose. Don't forget what your purpose is when you're faced with this adversity, right? Don't forget what your purpose is. Stay aligned with that, right? And if you keep yourself in the headspace, because these eights do have to do with the mind and the headspace, right? What's going on, how you stay focused, right? How you stay in the game, you know? Don't get distracted by, the things that are meant to distract you, to throw you off, right? Because some things are actually meant to distract you, because you're like, it's not something that's good, and it is something that I would think about in a negative way, so it is meant to distract me, right? You have to, you're challenged in different ways sometimes so that you can strengthen ways about you. Whatever, that kind of sounded redundant, but you know what I mean, right? Let's go ahead and choose one of these runes cards, because that's what was one of the first things that I wanted to do. And then I'm going to flip over your moon card and see what that is. And once we get to that moon card, we're going to see if... Oh, okay, it worked. And this is so on the money. I don't even know if you saw that card pop out like that because I was so low, but I'm gonna pick it up. Here's the deck here. I'm just gonna put it back where it came from, and I'm gonna pick the card up. Oh, there's two. So you got Nautis or Nautis, however you pronounce that. But this is the hourglass, and that is representative of sand and time. So some of you could have even been dreaming about a beach, or some of you guys could have been dreaming about sand, or you could be just dreaming about like time. Time could be slowing down in a dream, or it could be moving faster in a dream. But this is definitely talking about time and what you do with it, and the responsibility that you have to stay active in your time, right? Because the eighth house is ruled by Pluto. Even though this is Sun in Virgo, it's still an eight, okay? And the eighth house is ruled by Pluto. And a lot of people give that Saturn, they'll attach Pluto to Saturn, because Saturn does talk about decay, and it does talk about death, and it does talk about the bones. And after our body decays, you get to the bone, you get to the root of something. So we are talking about getting to the root of the matter here with this card, and understanding, like, with time, like, time is of the essence. And it's like, if you're not staying focused and you're not doing, your best with what time is giving you the opportunity to do your best with, then you know what's going on there. You know what I mean? What's going on there. Right? And Capricorn is the 10th house. And when we talk about the 10th house, we talk about opportunity. Okay? And this is Kaunas, which is, this is kind of like that energy of Aries, right? With that torch being there, holding the torch, carrying the torch, being the one that's leading the way. You know what I mean? You are your own leader, right? And it's keeping that enthusiasm about you, and it's very spirited, right? It's almost kind of like, esoterically, Aries is ruled by Gemini. And if you look at this is a youthful, young, masculine person, right? So it has that energy of like new ideas. I'm thinking quickly, I'm sharp, but then at the same time, I'm ready to go, and I want to do something with that quick, sharp mind, right? What direction can I send it in? What directions can this quick, sharp mind go into? What form of action? How can I put this into action? Right? Lights, camera, action. Do you guys remember that rap song? My gosh. Okay, so yeah, work. I can even read it to you guys. If you want to get more out of it, if you want to get like the ball face meaning, I can give it to you too. Let's see. It's like, stop trying to look. Okay, necessity, time. Nothingness is tied to unalterable necessity, and thus with time and fate. The sand flows through the hourglass just as days and events flow through our lives. We cannot stop the flow of time. We must submit ourselves to the rhythm of nature. This card carries a strict teaching. We must accept our destiny. Discipline and sense of duty are our allies. Everything has its moment. The moment of Nothingness is that of waiting and reflection. Do we know how to wait and endure? Could patience be our ally? Are we able to apply ourselves and concentrate in order to solve problems life has in store for us? Honey, didn't I just give you all this? But I'm reading it. The rune makes us disciplined and focused, and is excellent for studying for those facing an exam. Well, it's definitely going to be more difficult to probably study now that you're probably doing it online, right? If you weren't before, because it's different to be in the classroom and then all of a sudden to have to be taking these online classes, right? But time, what are you doing with your time? You're the what you are experiencing right now, as that sand is flowing through that time, is your destiny. So everything that you are faced with, the adversity, the obstacles, the good, the bad, right? Pros, cons, all of it, see it as your destiny. How are you want to see all of that stuff as being so important to the path that you're on in your life, right? Because we really are that sensitive. The moon is coming up in Libra, and that is in your 10th house, right? The moon being in your 10th house is sort of like a nice position for the moon to be in. The moon is in Libra there, and in the tarot, that's the Two of Swords, sensitivities to making choices, right? But choices that are important because they're your choices, and your choices are important, right? Remember that. For those of you that aren't that ambitious enough to think that your choices are important, but you're Capricorn, so most of you already think that your choices are like the most important. Probably that your choices are important for other people to make their choices too. I have Saturn in my first house, but that's a little more intense because I would never, be like that. But I know that energy. I know it. Torch, passion, right? This one right here. Okay, remember I was talking about energy or the mind and focusing that energy and that imagination and that creativity and putting into action, just like this Three of Wands being here, not waiting to do it. Okay. So here we go with that one. This rune is tied to fire, right? Aries season, like I said, which is at once carrier of light and heat, but also destruction. Ooh. Okay. Just like the Emperor here, right? That 4, just like 13, just like the Death card, and those are both ruled by Mars. Anyway, let me keep going. A young torchbearer has torches in hand, and the flame that burns illuminates the wishes of the youth who is full of passion and enthusiasm. Each time that something new enters our lives, youthful energies are set in motion, and our gaze is illuminated by prospects that we had not taken into consideration. Right? Uranus being in your fifth house. But we must not allow ourselves to be blinded by illusions or overly devouring passions. Right? Overly devouring passions here. Right? And also here with the Emperor. Okay? Because your passions can consume you, tearing you apart. I'm listening to Portishead, by the way. This album, I believe, is Dummy, right? 1994. Okay, let's see. Let's reflect on how the strength of desire becomes part of our life and transforms it. Are we able to achieve what we want, or do our dreams become a destructive force? Right? Out of our appetite, our hunger for more, you end up missing out or missing the point because you're not realizing that what you're experiencing in the moment is also a part of your destiny, not just the experience of you know um, um, digesting something that you sought out and um, attained, right, or foraged. Let's reflect on how the strength of desire becomes part of our life and transforms it. Are we able to achieve what we want, or do our dreams become a destructive force? Are our ambitions commensurate with our potential? Right? So it's kind of like you could have a dream to do something that you felt like was big because you saw someone else do it and you were like, wow, that's big. But what if what you were meant to do was something different and it was actually something bigger because it wasn't the same thing that someone else did? And you were just sort of like emulating that, right? Uranus being in your fifth house. Okay, because it does talk about originality. Uranus is talking about originality. The fifth house is talking about originality, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and flip over your moon. King of Pentacles. This popped or flipped up, came up in the pre-shuffle earlier. This is Taurus energy, and Taurus trines with you. Okay, so this is creating a sense of flow and harmony, right? Probably in the home or in the career, right? Because we're thinking of how the moon is going to be in Libra, okay? And that is your 10th house, which is an earth house, right? Capricorn, but it's air because it's Libra. But naturally in the zodiac, it would be ruled by, an earth sign, which is you. Okay, so this King of Pentacles is representative of you, Capricorn, and or Capricorn risings. Capricorn, sun, moon, or rising, for sure. Okay. But we're thinking about that. What do we have? Are we satisfied with what we have? What is it that we don't have that we've been forgetting about? You know what I mean? Or that we've sort of been sleeping on, or we just didn't think was important enough until now. And I feel like a lot of us are realizing that, wow, I didn't realize that this was that important until now. You know? Because all you need is some aspect of your reality to shift or change, Uranus and Taurus, to get you to really see the spiritual side of something. And that's why Taurus rules, Taurus is talking about spirituality too, you know? Because if you really get it and you understand, right, that's why I'm taking these canned goods to these people that need it. Because they understand how hardship and they understand how challenges and things that sort of like test you in life just like sort of like dampen your spirit or like just get the best of you sometimes, right? And that's very indicative of the energy that comes along with the next fixed sign, which is Leo. But Taurus is your fifth house. All right, Capricorn. You better be doing it for them. Doing it for us. Doing it for the betterment of everyone. Right? All right. So let's look at your anxieties here. What's going on? Oh, and I talked about the Seven of Wands earlier. Here it is. It popped up. And it's related to the King of Pentacles here, right? And it is a Leo card, Seven of Wands, and it's related to this Moon card, which is Taurus. And this is that energy of Uranus being in Taurus in your fifth house. Venus just left, right? Going into Gemini now. But the anxieties are what you face moving forward and the challenges that are down the road. And what you're dealing with in the moment too, because the sevens are talking about like that energy of like the seventh house of Libra, right? And you think of a balance or a scale is like, whoa, what I'm dealing with in the moment. And when you're trying to catch your balance, it's very much in the moment. Whoa, I'm not thinking about anything right now except for trying to get back on my feet, trying to make sense of this shakeup right now, or trying to really like recalibrate my sense of balance. You know what I mean? Because the sevens are kind of like that energy of a growth spurt. When you're like, whoa, I feel a little bit different. I never really had that. I'm still the same size that I was when I was like 3 years old. But, when students, dance students of mine, they have their dance spurts and they dance, it's like they feel like a different person because they grew a little bit. It's like after the summer and stuff like that too. But the sevens are talking about, learning, understanding, focusing. It's talking about focusing, mental focus, okay? And also like grace and poise and being able to kind of like deal with something gracefully. So you have anxieties that you're not going to be able to deal with something gracefully, or it's going to show, or people will start to see that you are not as, huge as they thought you were, right? Whatever that means, larger than life, or like, it's like you want people to see you a certain way, and that's why this is Mars and Leo. You want people to see you a certain way, but then those challenges are causing you to, feel and be triggered and sense moving forward that you won't always be in control, right, Mars and Leo, in the way that things kind of go for you moving forward. You can't expect things to actually always be the same now that you're going to have to be coming from this place, obviously. And the sevens are sometimes very obvious, right? Because it does have that energy of black and white, right? Are you gonna stay or you're gonna go? Are you gonna roll over or are you gonna fight? Right? Fight or flight. That's kind of like what we're dealing with too with that. Let's flip over this Mars energy, this Mars position. Eight of Wands, good. And it's right underneath the Eight of Pentacles here in the spread. Eight of Wands is talking about information, news coming in fast, right? Being able to do something with that, right? Being ready. It's like on your mark, get set, go, right? Being able to jump up at a moment's notice, do something, send something, type something out, call someone, right? Try to make a connection with something, Try to get something, planned, put together, made, okay? Because it does talk about skill here too and ability with the eights, right? Which can do, the strength, the courage to do something, being able to see when it's meant for you to take advantage of an opportunity, that's courage. So you have to have the courage to take advantage of an opportunity when it presents itself for you, to you, because then that's a moment for you to, act within your power and within your strength of will, and also character too, right? Because the eights are actually a way for you to use the best facet, I guess, of your character to put forth into action. Personality wise, using the best aspects of your personality to get a lot done or to get the most done, right? It doesn't have to be getting quantitatively a lot done, but qualitatively a lot done, right? More meaningful, more potency, more substantial here. Okay, so there's something coming in that's gonna meet certain parameters for you and feel like it's yes. Okay, right. Even if it's like a cosmic connection sort of thing, like you're like, yes, this is right, what I'm doing, where I'm going with this, the goal, the new goal that I have, or how I'm seeing this change, or what I want to do with this, right? In your Venus position, you have Venus in Virgo. And this is kind of like Venus being in the ninth house for you, right? Because Virgo is your ninth house. And what do you know that Venus in Virgo is a nine? Okay? So Venus is debilitated in Virgo, typically, but we are using that in a positive way here, always, right? There's shadow and light to everything, right? It's a nine, so it's talking about discovering something on your own, single, right? I single-handedly did this, you know. You know, this could just be kind of like, sometimes Venus can be selfish like Mars can be. It's kind of like how Libra is definitely more concerned about itself looking good than someone else looking good first. Right? I've got to make sure I look good first. So, this Venus in Virgo is reminiscent of the energy of kind of like, I've got to make sure that I'm going for my goals. I'm doing what it is that I feel like I want to be doing. I don't want to be held back by the concerns or by what anyone else might be doing or the restrictions that anyone might place on me. I want to be flexible. I want to move. I want to be able to kind of like discover things on my own, right? Be able to change things at a moment's notice. Move the furniture if I wanted to. I want to be able to date whoever I want to date at whatever moment I want to date. That's why I probably should be single and not be in a relationship with someone, because I know I'm going to want to date who I want to date. That type of thing. For some of you Capricorns out there. This is also talking about work, because it's Virgo, Venus in Virgo. What's the ideal work for you? What are the ideal what's the ideal projection for where you want to see yourself going? You know what I mean? And just kind of like what do you want to do to kind of like get yourself on the path to doing more? Yeah, it's great to have goals, but you also can't just focus on that one goal and want to cut out everything and all of the work that happens in between. And that's what Virgo also teaches us. There's so much in between stuff that we do before we get to the place that we're actually trying to get to, and that's important, because if it weren't for all of that in between, you wouldn't have gotten there. Right? You got to put one foot in front of the other before you even get to where you're going. Right? So there's still more work to be done here, in the relationship. For some of you guys, if you're in a relationship, there's still more work to be done. You know, you're gonna have to start showing the proof, right, yourself. But this is a card of isolation, right? So this could be like feeling isolated within your relationship too, in some kind of way. But you know, in terms of work, this is saying that, you know, you're getting a lot done for yourself, right? And I feel like, you know, it's positive because you're keeping busy, you know, and you have a lot of different jobs that you could be doing, okay? This also talks about the love of animals and taking care of animals, right? So some of you might even be feeling good because you're able to take care of an animal. This is also talking about fostering animals because, you know, this is a good time to foster animals, being that institutions and in centers and places that help the public, you know, um, even if it is just kind of like an animal rights organization or something like that. You know, there are people that are fostering pets right now. So, you know, that's something that you could be doing, right? Because you have the time and you may have always wanted to do. Because the Nine of Pentacles talks about doing things that you've probably always wanted to do, you know? It's kind of like almost not a bucket list, but almost kind of like that type of thing, right? I've always wanted to accomplish this, you know? So maybe there's something that you wanted to do in terms of like connecting with a lot of people, but maybe dealing with like in a mercurial way. Maybe writing something. You know, this could be actually talking about writing that book or writing that log of information that you would like to get published, like that type of thing. Or maybe publishing this information in your own kind of way, right? Because it's kind of like getting the word out there after you've done the work and realizing what it was that the word was teaching you. Okay, let's look at your Romance Angels Oracle cards, because now we've just flipped over the Venus card, right? And it's Venus in Virgo, right? I like the Venus in Virgo card because, you know, there ain't nothing like doing it for yourself, right? But if you're in a relationship or something like that, this could be like, wow, you know, you're just doing it for yourself. Right? So that could have been one of the focuses, right? Or what needed to be talked about, what needed to be like broken down, right? Break down to break through, right? Meaningful conversation about things that have gone on, and, you know, we, you know, this is how things have, this is my opinion of how things have manifested into what they have. All of that. Sorry, YouTube pops up, and, you know, sometimes it's like something political, so I just had to go kind of laugh at what that was. Anyway, damn, that was such a weird way. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, I felt like I had 100 cards in one hand and 5 in the other. And all of those other times before that, when I was splitting down the middle, it was so difficult to shuffle. But when it was all lopsided, those cards just went ahead and like laid down with each other. I don't know what that was about. Hi. So I hate being like that low, right? I feel like I'm so low with like the camera angle. Now that I'm sitting down, let me try to change it a little bit. Hi, Monica. All right, I think that's good. You guys like my art? I didn't create that. My friend created that, right? Son of Lolita, that's SUN, I would believe, on Instagram. You know Dale. Cross watching. Okay, let's cues this coffee. Oh, two cards. Okay, so soulmate. Yes, this is your soulmate. So if you're wondering like if what I've been going through, if you're like still in your relationship, right? And you know it's working, you know it you're in it, right? And I'm not saying like if y'all like separated or something like that or thinking about getting divorced. But if you're together, this is saying yes, this is your soulmate, right? Um and then we have one more. It says to recapture romance, allow your inner youthful spirit of fun to shine. Right? So these are people who want to recapture romance, who are thinking about that, who are working on it. If you're not working on that, I'm not saying like, oh my god, you should like totally get back with this person. No. I'm saying like if you are in a relationship and if you are considering working things out and you're like, wow, I have such a deep connection to this person, if you are considering working things out, if you know for a fact, like if you were in your house yesterday and you were like, hell no, never again, because you did this and you did that, then no, it's not for you. But if you're still with them, the soulmate card came up, and the card that is suggesting and encouraging you to create, more youthful spirit, more youthfully spirited energy in the relationship to recapture romance, and playfulness. That's good. Now, your future cards are up next. We have your outcome and energy moving forward, the future card, and we also have the one at the top. Been stalking you. Oh no. The stalking thing is kind of scary only because it's like someone knows that they're making you uncomfortable and they still want to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, use your intuition. If you feel uncomfortable and you feel like someone, even if you get a sense that you are uncomfortable with the idea of what you think somebody might be doing, you don't have to be around them, done. Don't be around them. That's what I say, right? Just because, it's up to you what you allow to occur around you, unless you're someone that's being held against your will or you can't get out or you're imprisoned or you're like stuck, you know? But you get to as we get older too, we get to choose, we get to understand a little bit more and more with experience of like what we want our reality to be. We can access different parts of our personality, right? So that we can view the world through that lens, right? That's kind of very much Gemini energy. And your third house is Pisces, okay? Which is amazing. If you can get yourself to, I mean, it's, I have Neptune in my third house, so, whoa. Anyway, you could be hard to understand sometimes. I'm just saying. With your third house being Pisces, right? And that's why we have this high priestess being in the past. So there was some element of communication, feel some element of communication that triggered a reaction and a response, because that Gemini energy is definitely talking about call and response. The 11s, the 2s, Roman numerals, call and response, this or that, right? And that's what balances it out. Oh, for every action, there's a reaction, right? And for the sharing of information, there is an understanding and a perception that I will have based on what I've just been told. And that's going to trigger a feeling or an emotion, and then that's going to make me feel some kind of way, and I'm going to want someone to do something with that now, right? Sometimes. Um, let's look at these cards. The World, 21, Saturn, your ruler. And also, my first house ruler, because I have Saturn in my first house. Um, Here we go. Right? That wreath, that transmutation of energy. What am I doing this with this? What personality am I pulling from now? It's a 3. So it's talking about using those different degrees of your personality, of your intellect, of your thought process, and your ability to perceive things in different ways, because everything isn't the same. I can't even try to sound like a caveman. I can't even do it. I'm trying. I tried. And you saw me really just veer right on out of it. So, yeah, we are using different facets of our personality, accessing different parts of our character and ourselves, to achieve many different things. This is why, there you go to school, you go to preschool, you go to elementary school, junior high school, college, graduate school, law school, right? All of that. You're like, whoa, I did all those different things. That was me at all those different times. I achieved all those different things at different times in my life. And I had to go in that order, right? Because it's about seasoning, and it's about strengthening and galvanizing, and it's about structuring, right? And it's about strengthening, because Saturn does want to strengthen you. And, in order to be strengthened, you have to test your weak points and your weaknesses. Because if you don't know what your weaknesses are, there is no way that you'll be able to know what your strengths are. You might know some, but you won't know all of them, because you have to be tested, because you have not been tested in every single way that life has to test you. No one has. No one. You know what I mean? Some people have been tested so much that it's like literally if life tested them anymore, they would just, you know what I mean? So it's like those people don't, they have basically met their karma already. So they probably already have learned many valuable lessons, and there might just be one pinnacle, the essence of one lesson that they have to learn. Anyway, I'm veering off course. That's why I was talking about Neptune being in the 3rd house. Anyway, but many different ways of achieving things, okay? And let's look at, wow, you better work. You got the Ace of Swords in the future, new perspective, changing your mind, right? New focus, willingness to willingness to desire a new perspective. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever been like, man, I want to have a new perspective. I want to understand why people say they and their and not just she or he. That type of thing. I want to know what it's like for this person to really be struggling, so I can then, have some way to identify with what that type of struggle is like, especially if I've never had it. But the Ace of Swords is talking about, maybe you're raising your hand to ask a question. Maybe that light bulb is turning on. This is a breath of fresh air, and this is mental clarity as well. If you were stuck you know, in a place where you felt like you were suffocating, or you couldn't talk, or you couldn't speak freely or communicate freely, this is the beginning of the idea that you now can, right? I am communicating now. I am talking. I am saying something. But this also is talking about how you're doing that. Are you writing? Is this manuscript? Right? Is this literature? Something? Right? What is this? What is this information? But there's something that is meant to be achieved here with the World card, you know? And it's all talking about reduction. Okay, 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 okay. You know, process, step by step, dropping down, distillation process, bringing it into like the purest form so you can really get the best out of it. You know, none of that, no excess unnecessary stuff, right? What is that? We don't need that. But you know what, Capricorn? Sometimes you guys do need a little bit extra. Oh my gosh. I feel like that's why Saturn is exalted in Libra. Because sometimes you guys really are working with the bare minimum sometimes. And it's just so crazy because you're Capricorns. I feel like that sometimes. You're so practical, but it's like you want all the money and all the success and stuff, but you're like, and I have this one pen. And you're like, oh my God, what? I don't know why it's I don't know why it's like that sometimes. I'm sorry, I froze. I thought that I had my phone plugged in. Let me plug it in. I have one more card to pick up, of course. Hold on. I'm just messing with you, Capricorn. No, but I did. My friend is a Capricorn rising, and he might be watching this, and I'm going to need you to have more than one pan. Capricorn. Hey, but look, I try to use one dish at a time. Like, right? I'll have like one mug, and I'll just wash that. Even though I have like a bunch of them. I'll just use that one. Saturn in the first house. And also Pluto as well. So it's the control. I need to control the amount of whatever. And whatever it is to control. Anyway. Judgment card. It's Pluto. Control. Okay, so let go of your need to control others, right? And let go of your need to want to make other people do or makes or just have something be, right? Because Pluto is also a co-ruler of Aries, right? Aries and Scorpio and also Mars. Both of those. It's almost like Jupiter and Neptune with Pisces and Sag, okay? Um, yeah. What am I achieving by being stuck? Because this is also like that energy of Uranus being in Taurus, right? Because this is a 2, right? Being that it's 20, so it's a 2, so it's talking about the second house, but then it's also this 2, right? Pluto is the esoteric ruler of Pisces. High Priestess is a 2. This is a 2 as well. Anyway, yes, the balance, the sense of balance that wants to be achieved on all sides, on all fronts, right? We're looking at that. We're trying to come up with a way to sand it down and make it smoother, make it easier to cope with something. Sometimes it's easier to cope with something to let that something go. And I'm not coping with it anymore. I'm not forcing myself to deal with it. I'm not trying to maintain some level of control with something that makes me feel uncomfortable just because I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm maintaining a sense of discomfort with, you know what I mean? Like, what is that? We don't want that. We want to regenerate. We want to let go of the need to be staring something down until it breaks down for us. You know? Break down for me. You know what I mean? Or we could be like, someone just changed this for me. I wish I wish this would happen. Right? And it'll be something bad too, right? Because that's how Pluto does. I wish this would happen and then this would just change. No. You should do this and this would change for you. Not like, I want this to just happen and then I won't have to do the work. I won't have to be held accountable for like for my will and my own desires. All right, so it's time to pull a Joan of Arc. Or sorry, why am I saying that? Voice of Truth. That's just the card that's like at the bottom of the deck. I said Joan of Arc. I know I did that, but I'm sorry. This reading is long, but the only reason why it's this long is because I talked for like 15 minutes about your astrology and your chart. That's why. Yeah. sometimes it's not meant for you to do all the things or make all the things the way that you want them to be. Sometimes you have to let go of things that you would like to possess, right? Lifestyle, a job that you might feel like you want. Maybe it's getting in the way of something, or maybe something needs to change, right? Or maybe you are being stubborn about letting something go, some old aspect of, a reality, right? That really is begging to change. That still hasn't yet. Something wants to grow out of it, out of its infancy, right? For some of you guys. Or it wants to change, right? It wants to be strengthened. It wants to mean more. So it has to come out of this sort of like juvenile sense of being or existence, because sometimes things are important to us when we're younger that really aren't important to us that much anymore. I'll wake up at 6 a.m. still. Whatever. I was going to say something about when I used to wake up to watch cartoons when I was little. I don't do that anymore. You know what I mean? Because it's not important to me, and I'm not still holding on to that, you know? I'm not. Because I feel like maybe it would be restricting me in some kind of way, you know what I mean? Maybe. I don't know. On a personality level, maybe in the long run, but I just don't do it anymore because I've let it go, right? I've let go of that. There are some things that I do still like. I probably would still love to watch Pee Wee's Playhouse. Hey, what's up? We've been up here for a long time. I'm about to go. But I would definitely suggest that everybody like, share, and subscribe. I'm doing a 2020 special again, right? That's 20 minutes for $20. Email providencetarotkendrick@gmail.com to book a reading. Just email me, give me a shout out. We'll, follow through with the steps to book your reading thereafter. I don't know why this was so long for you, Capricorn. Maybe just because there's so many planets that have been in your sign for so long. And thank God Pluto and Saturn were there before Jupiter came in, because that means that it's getting something good out of it at least, right? Open communication. Get a weight off your chest. Speak up with love and be heard. Mercury. Open communication. Mercury is in your third house of unconditional love. Pisces. With Neptune. Okay? And I talked about Neptune being my third house, so this is just reiterating that. Okay? And I feel like I want to pull another one for you all. Right? And Saturn in the first house folk alike. Some of these things might resonate with you if you have Saturn in your first house. And I would even go as far as to say if you have it in like your 10th or 11th house too. Just because it likes being there. Okay, there's a card that fell out. I'm going to go with that one. Just because I don't want to be shuffling all night. Krishna, devotion. Okay, work. Trust your spiritual guidance. Your commitment has been recognized. You are loved unconditionally. Wasn't I just talking about your third house being Pisces of unconditional love? And then Mercury, open communication came up, and Mercury is in your third house of Pisces. Just saying, y'all. But you heard me. I don't have to, tell you what I just said, because I told you what I said first. Thank you, guys. Follow me on Instagram. My name is NYC Kendrick. Also, Providence Tarot, of course, just like here. Check out the weeklies for this week. They've been posted on YouTube and on Instagram. Like I said, the 2020 special is happening. I'm still reading at Shanti on the weekends. Being that it is the weekend now, I will be reading for Shanti over the phone from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. this Sunday. What date is that? That's the 5th. Okay, so Sunday, April 5th, I'll be at Shanti, or I will be reading over the phone for Shanti, okay? check the Shanti NYC Instagram. You can keep up to speed on like the store and the you know, lessons and the different programs that we have there, you know, Reiki sessions. Whenever we reopen, you know, we have another spot opening up right next to the shop that we have now. And they're going to be offering different services there, you know, that have to do with like healing the body, the mind, and the spirit, and not just, you know, the purchasing of the goods that sort of attribute to all of our spiritual needs. I think that is it, and I will talk to you guys soon. Capricorn, this has been a long time, and, you know, your real time, so there we go. Bye.